The world is again being threatened by another possible pandemic much worse than the COVID-19 pandemic. And scientists are currently developing vaccines for this new pandemic involving Disease X. While scientists say that it may only take them 100 days to make the vaccines against it, many believe this is just another man-made virus to put us on lockdown again. Keep watching till the end of this video to see Disease X is putting the world in lockdown again. The term Disease X is a placeholder for an unforeseeable global health threat that could strike humanity unexpectedly, much like the COVID-19 virus did. The designation X in Disease X symbolizes the unknown. From the vast pool of approximately 1.67 million unidentified viruses on our planet, an estimated 631,000 to 827,000 can potentially infect humans. This means we are largely oblivious to 99.96% of potential pandemic threats. The threat of Disease X is not confined to a single location or environment. It could be lurking in the secluded recesses of a cave in Guangdong province, nestled high in the trees along the Kinabatangan River, or dormant in a species native to the Amazon. The threat of Disease X is not limited to naturally occurring pathogens. This is not a far-fetched assumption, as many past outbreaks such as Ebola, HIV/AIDS, and COVID-19 were all zoonotic. While it is theorized that Disease X is most likely to originate from an animal source, the possibility of a man-made pandemic cannot be disregarded. The accidental release of pathogens from laboratories or acts of bioterrorism could lead to a catastrophic Disease X scenario. The Vaccine Development and Evaluation Centre, VDEC, in the UK government's high-security Porton Down laboratory complex in Wiltshire, began researching and creating a vaccine against this unknown virus. The aim is to stop future pandemics and prevent these diseases from disrupting our everyday life. One early success of these efforts is the development of the world's first vaccine against Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a disease that's spread by ticks and has a fatality rate of 30%. This vaccine is already undergoing early-stage clinical trials. Disease X causing scarcity of resources. Experts have warned that Disease X could lead to civil unrest and food shortages if it isn't properly dealt with. The global food reserves are currently at a 50-year low with only 14% of the annual consumption available. Food prices could skyrocket in the face of a major drought or flood. Beyond food shortages, water scarcity is also a pressing issue. Predicted climate changes indicate that some regions will become less able to grow crops due to higher temperatures. Particularly, the southeast of England is projected to be especially vulnerable to water shortages, especially during the summer months. This water scarcity could further exacerbate food production issues, contributing to the perfect storm of crises predicted by experts. Alongside food and water shortages, the world is grappling with an energy crisis. The energy demand is predicted to increase by 50% by 2030. This increase and the need to combat climate change pose a daunting challenge for governments worldwide. In the face of these looming threats, global efforts are being made to prepare for the worst. Technological advancements in renewable energy, improvements in crop yields, and better utilization of existing water supplies are some of the strategies being employed to combat these crises. For instance, in China, officials have started building new reservoirs to catch meltwater from mountain glaciers, which will be circulated into the water supply to combat impending water shortages. Scientists and healthcare professionals are tirelessly developing new vaccines, enhancing current treatments, and improving surveillance systems to predict better and combat future Disease X scenarios. Coronavirus's continuous mutation. While the world remains vigilant for Disease X, we are faced with another immediate threat: the rise of the EG.5 variant. This new strain of the coronavirus, causing approximately 17% of new COVID-19 cases in the United States, isn't an entirely new variant. Rather, it's an offshoot of the XBB recombinant strain of the Omicron family, bearing a single extra mutation in its spike protein at position 465. The 465 mutation isn't novel. It has been observed in other coronavirus variants before. However, its prevalence in about 35% of coronavirus sequences reported worldwide hints at a possible evolutionary advantage. Moreover, the EG.5 variant has spawned an offshoot, EG.5.1, with an additional mutation in the spike protein, which is spreading rapidly. Scientists like Dr. David Ho, a professor of microbiology and immunology at Columbia University, are examining these variants to determine their resistance to our existing antibodies. According to him, these variants are slightly more resistant to neutralizing antibodies in the serum of infected and vaccinated individuals. Clinically, these newer strains don't appear to cause different or more severe symptoms than preceding viruses. Both are only slightly more resistant to neutralizing antibodies in serum of infected and vaccinated persons, Ho said in an email to CNN. Beyond the United States, the EG.5 variant is increasing rapidly in Ireland, France, the UK, Japan, and China. The World Health Organization has upgraded its status from a variant under monitoring to a variant of interest, indicating the need for closer tracking and further studies. The zombie viruses. Another potential source of disease X could be zombie viruses. In the context of virology, a zombie virus is not a pathogen that turns people into mindless, flesh-eating monsters as popular culture might suggest. Instead, it refers to a virus that has been frozen in time, often trapped in permafrost, ground that remains frozen for at least 2 consecutive years. These viruses, much like the undead, can spring back to life if conditions become favorable for their revival. Permafrost, covering nearly a quarter of the northern hemisphere, serves as a frozen vault holding a treasure trove of organic matter, including ancient microbes and viruses. As the Earth's temperature rises due to global warming, the top layers of permafrost begin to thaw, potentially unearthing these age-old pathogens. French computational biologist Jean-Michel Claverie and a team of European researchers have been on a quest to identify and understand these prehistoric pathogens. The team has discovered and revived 13 previously unknown zombie viruses isolated from Siberian permafrost samples. According to radiocarbon dating, some of these viruses have been dormant for up to 48,500 years. This has caught the interest of microbiologists and clinical laboratory managers worldwide, as these organisms are new to science and may be precursors to infectious agents active today. In a groundbreaking experiment, Claverie and his team introduced the frozen viruses into cultured amoeba cells. The viruses, still viable after thousands of years, successfully infected the amoebas. The most ancient of these viruses, Pandoravirus yodoma, was found in icy deposits under a Siberian lake. The researchers could revive this virus, which had remained infectious for an astonishing 48,500 years, by inserting it into cultured cells. While these initial experiments focused on viruses that could only infect amoebas, the researchers believe that similar procedures could potentially revive viruses capable of infecting humans or other animals. However, to ensure biological security, the research team has been cautious not to restore any viruses that could pose a direct health threat. While the potential for a zombie virus pandemic does exist, it is not a cause for immediate panic. It calls for increased vigilance, proactive research, and a more comprehensive understanding of these ancient pathogens. Warnings of German Listeria outbreak. Scientists at the Robert Koch Institute have assigned 11 notified listeriosis patients to the incident. The investigation, spanning several years, has connected the outbreak to a particular food source, smoked salmon. Despite the known risk of listeria from smoked or graved salmon, data demonstrates that contamination persists in production facilities. The breakthrough in the investigation came in the form of an alert from the Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed, which identified Listeria monocytogenes in smoked salmon from Poland. The victims of this outbreak were predominantly elder individuals. 5 men and 6 women, aged between 69 and 91, fell ill between 2019 and 2023. One person who tested positive for Listeria infection tragically passed away. However, the cause of death was determined to be unrelated listeriosis. The Federal Institute for Risk Assessment, BFR, has warned regarding these findings. Individuals at an increased risk of listeriosis are advised to consume only well-cooked fish and seafood. In healthcare facilities, vulnerable groups should avoid smoking and graved salmon products, including immunocompromised individuals and older adults. So, do you also believe we'll be able to handle future deadly viruses easier than the COVID-19 pandemic? Join the conversation and let us know in the comments below.